Morning, everyone. Uh, don't know why I'm not showing yet, but I guess it has to do with the delay. Okay. Um, and what I'm going to do is today will be, oops, just a sec. Let me get my camera straightened out here. Okay. So today I'm going to work with Jung's Red Book for Our Time, Searching for Soul Under Modern Conditions, Volume 4. And we're right in the middle of this essay entitled The Burning Urgency of Psychodynamic Discoveries in the Red Book for Psychiatry and Psychotherapy, a key to healing residents of soul, love, and life. And so that's quite a mouthful of a title, obviously. But anyway, I am sorry to say that I have a uh, old friend from India, one of my business partners from India, who's arriving in Baltimore at 12 o'clock. So I will have to cut this session short at um, at about 11:05 or 11:10 so that I can go pick him up. So we won't get to the end of this article this time. It's quite a long essay. And hi, Sheree. Yeah, it's good to have dogs and cats when when there's trouble about. I'll tell you, I have done a lot of painting uh, over this Christmas holiday. I go back to school tomorrow, uh, and I had one piece of work that I had to do for school, and I have completed, well, I've pretty much completed it, but I started at 4 this morning. So if I fall asleep, you'll know why. Okay, so we are on page 36 of this book. It's volume 4 of this series, and we're right in the middle of this essay. So one of the things that is there's a paragraph before the beginning of a series of specialized paragraphs, and it says, openness, acceptance, patience, and humility unfold apace and prove essential to the further relating process, to the relating process. Um, Experience of relatedness. After the sacrifice of ambition, the dynamics between the ego and the spirit of the depths progressively transform. The soul becomes a caring, challenging friend. The other within begins to reciprocate. Feelings are expressed from inner figures. The phenomenon of relatedness emerging from the spirit of the depths, the unconscious, Jung first called divine madness, underscoring the strangeness of this unexpected experience. The relationship with the psyche intensifies out of herself, not only out of Jung's wishes. This marks a completely new discovery for him in a as a psychiatrist of that time. And so, um, what Jung is discovering in the Red Book is that he can relate to his various complexes in his psyche, uh, as if they were people, and actually have conversations with them. And one of the ones that he does converse with is his soul, of course. And good morning, Snowman. Nice to see you today. Um, and and good morning, Art. I presume you're here. What he was discovering, um, so I guess the dynamics between the ego and the spirit of the depths progressively transform. And what I would say about that, and because I have gone through it, I'm my, I do hate to admit it, but I'm in my 80th year this year. And Jung passed through this when he was um, 38. His Red Book period started and ended when he was 43. Mine started in 1993, so I was 47 when I had a very intense experience of writing a novel. I thought I was writing a novel. It turned out I was dealing with uh, a series of entities in my psyche, and I was going through a tough time, like I guess we call it the midlife crisis. And it was a time when um, things were not very good in the country. There had been uh, there'd been a couple of financial meltdowns in the late 80s and early 90s, and I came out of Japan. I'd been in Japan for 5 years, building a company there, and quite successfully. And I thought I would be able to walk into a job anywhere, and that wasn't the case at all. And I had a very difficult time um, getting a job. And I finally discovered that I had to build my own job, which I did for the next um, 30 years or so. Um, and oh, good. Hello. How are you?
Hi,
How are you today?
I'm doing good. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. And so, anyway, I was talking about this one segment where the dynamics between the ego and the spirit of the depths changes. And I would say that started for me when I was around 47, maybe a little earlier than that. And it just beat me down, and I had to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And it turned out that I went out and founded a public company, which wasn't too bad. It was a smallish public company, but nonetheless, it was a public company, and it was quite successful for a long while. Um, and it got my kids through college and all kinds of things like that. And so I was happy with that. And Cherie says good morning to you uh,
Morning.
on the chat. Um, so anyway, I,
Young does say that a midlife crisis is a gift.
yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of beats you down, beats your ego down. You have this very strong attitude that you're going to be something, you are something, whatever it is, and maybe you got to the point where you're not going to be that, and so then you have to reckon with yourself in terms of what you are going to be. That's the issue. And I know that you've been through some tough times too, and have experienced what I'm talking about. And And so, for me now, and I've been through it a number of times because, um, I went through that time, and then we had the financial crash of 2008, and it took me a long time to decide to go back to teaching school, which uh, I had decided when I was in college that I would go ahead and get certified in social studies to teach social studies. And that had been urged upon me. And so I had to take, I don't know, 10 courses or something that were in that track in school. It wasn't my primary, but it was I guess it was sort of my secondary major. My primary major had been history. Um, and so I did practice teach at that time. I completed all those requirements. And ultimately, when I got my law degree, I became permanently certified in the state of New York, which I haven't lived in since I gave up the practice of law, which is a long while. And so, but I decided to teach or to get the certificate because I said, well, if ever I can't get a job, I should always be able to teach. Well, for most of the years since the time that I graduated from college, there was a plethora of teachers. There were way too many teachers coming out when I was graduating from college. And anyway, I was off on my business career and my military career, and I never looked back. And I was 75 years old before, I found myself without a job and um, thinking that it might be nice to have some income. And the school district here in Annapolis, where I live, was crying for teachers at that point. And so that, it was in the paper every day on the front page. We need, all these teachers for the school district. And so I went in and applied. Turned out they didn't really need that many, but they needed a substitute. So I had to substitute for a year before I got a full-time position, but that's all right. It was okay.
But
So
you like the
anyway,
school that you're at now, right?
I like it. Yep, I like it. It's
Yeah.
it's difficult. I'm in an alt school, which is still part of the public school system, but it's a school system for a lot of kids that have individual education plans, and most of them have been behavioral problems. So most of them have been suspended a couple of times, and they're very willful, and so we have to uh, help them as we go.
I think I remember when you were at your first school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was teaching art.
Yes, when you were teaching art.
Oh yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that was great. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I remember the collage that you made
Yeah,
with the kids.
yep.
Did that
And
ever turn out to be, um, did you, did any of it come true yet? The kids' drawings?
um, it's hard to know what you mean by come true. What do you mean by come
Well,
true?
you had them, do the, uh,
The
doodling, the
Yeah,
Rocky,
right.
and, um,
Yeah, well,
I
yeah.
guess we were supposed to be looking for signs for.
Well, I mean, there are definitely signs in those um, murals that we did. I did a mural there at that elementary school where I was teaching third to fifth grade, and I had 15 different classes at the time, and that was interesting to adjust myself from being this hard-nosed businessman and to being the art teacher, but I was able to do it, and I guess I can go find in my somewhere in my uh, drive. I actually have. Um, let's see. No, it's not that. I actually have um, pictures of that. So I guess we ought to show people pictures of that. Um, so we worked at it for, what's going on here? Photos library. That seems like what I might want. Yeah, okay. Um, let's see. So that was Phoenix, not Phoenix, but Monarch, Monarch Academy. And so I do have a photograph. Here it is. Um, come on, let's see if I can get it open. Yep. And I did this with another art teacher. So she was taking pre-K up through second grade, and I was taking the third through the fifth grade. And we had every student in the school, 650 students, touch this mural. And there it is. And there I am. And my colleague is there holding it up. And I gave every student in the school 1 minute to to paint on this. And so there were 650 students touched it. And um, let's see. Maybe I can get a better a close up so that you can get a sense of it. There's lots and lots of stuff in this, um, including some profanity. And and let's see. So yeah, I mean it was a experience for the school and it was experience for me. And one of the interesting things about this is that um, it looks like there's a Milky Way down the middle of this mural. And you can see how it's whitish down the middle. And the reason is that this was an elementary school, and I had this spread out on some work tables, and kids could get on all sides of it, and and they couldn't reach the middle. They
Oh,
there were just little kids, third to fifth grade. They couldn't reach the middle, and so they didn't tend to paint in the middle. And and my colleague had written "Artfully Yours" on it first, and you can still see the artfully there. And what I'm realizing is I just saw a skull right here. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the first time I've seen that. And here's a evil kind of dark skull over here. Are you seeing my cursor?
um,
No.
no.
Okay. So
Oh,
right
there
at
it is.
you see it, see my arrow
Yeah,
pointing? And so
yeah.
here I'm pointing at a skull, and here is another sort of dark creature, a couple of them side by side. And
Oh, I
so,
see that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but I mean, we went through this, and I had kids identify things that they could see in this. And oh, we found 650 things in it. Every kid found something in the detail of this mural. And so we found a lot of Yodas and we found a lot of other things. I mean, I'm seeing stuff right now as I look at it. I mean, to most people, this will look like a scribble, but and you're not really getting the detail out of it, unfortunately, because there's lots of stuff in here. Um, but anyway, that was what Michelle was talking about, and that's what we did 4 years ago. It was kind of fun. And so in my new school, um, let's see if I can find what we did in my new school. Um, in my new school, we did two things. A we did another Rocky, but with older kids, sixth to eighth grade kids. Um, and let's see. I guess can you see that? I guess you can see it.
I can, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is the Rocky that we did with the eighth grade students. And it just got kind of messy, but there's a lot of stuff in that as well. Um, and
But the other one did look like a galaxy more than this.
yes, but we did two other murals at this second school I was at, and let's see. Well, I'll just show you one of them, which you're looking at it now, I guess. We did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
Oh,
which
how cool.
which was kind of fun. We did there's a giant squid and the Nautilus and so on. And there are two little guys looking out the porthole from it. And they came out pretty well. And let's see what else I've got. Maybe that's all. I mean, that's enough for that. But the point is, I started to teach. It started to get involved in the arts again, which I had been involved in them to a certain degree years ago, um, and then I got away from it, and I was busy with my business career, and and so I sort of left it lie fallow. And when I was 45, I started to paint portraits. And what I realized was that I was painting everybody's shadow. And naturally enough, if you're painting a picture of someone that you want to sell to them, if you were a portrait artist, you wouldn't want to be painting their shadow. So I could always get a likeness, but it was always a likeness of the shadow of the person.
Ooh, that's neat. Some people have very angelic shadows because they identify more with their dark side
Right,
during consciousness.
right.
So their shadow side is actually pretty angelic.
Well, I'll just give you a sense of it because I have my friend Tim Holmes, which most people know of, who uh, I've made a deal with him to paint my portrait every once a year, and let's see if I can find out here. Maybe I can find the portrait that he did this year. Yes, I can. And this is kind of a shadow uh, painting. Uh, just a sec. Got to get back to my. All right, so it's doing it again. Uh, I will. Okay, so this is a portrait of me for this year, and this Tim did about January of this year, and it basically shows all the turmoil in the country, and what's really prominent is one thing. What do you see, Michelle?
Thinking.
Well, there's a finger here.
Oh yeah.
and and the area around my eyes, the I mean, this is definitely more of a shadow portrait than an angelic portrait. So anyway, it's kind of fun though. Everybody likes it. A lot of people tell me they like it better than any of the others. So that's okay. Uh,
So
I
every year? I didn't know it was every year.
Oh yeah, every year. Let's see if I can find the other ones. Uh, oh yeah, here's the first one. Am I still sharing? No.
No, I don't see anything. That must
Okay.
be interesting for your ego to experience.
Yeah. Um, this one, when I got it, I wasn't sure I liked it. Um, I open these things, and very often, like this one was the first one he did, and I tend to see a lot of things in a painting, especially a painting like this. And I asked him to include a lot of things, and so he did. And we one time in the advanced reading room, we went through it and we found all the Jungian uh, references that we could find in this thing. And I'll just show you a few just to give you a sense of it, because we found around 125 Jung references in this. But one of the key ones is this one. This person is swimming. You see this person swimming in a dark pool here
Oh
in
yeah.
my hand. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and so that's a reference to what is it? It's a reference to when James Joyce came to Jung about his daughter that was schizophrenic, and James Joyce couldn't understand his schizophrenic daughter, and Jung explained uh, he that his daughter, or he could swim in the unconscious, but his daughter was drowning in it. That's how he explained it. And so if you can swim in the unconscious and keep your head above water, then you're much better off. Um, but there's something else about this portrait that it is is here. Oh, I mean, there are a whole lot of things. Like here's pointing to the dark side. See the dark river here, and I'm wearing my mala with skulls on it, which isn't a Jungian reference, but uh, he got it into it. Uh, but a couple things. The collar is different on the left and the right. You can see a evil face in my neck here if you look for it. Uh,
Oh.
and oh, there's lots of things. There's a feather coming out of my ear, uh, that you know here, or some kind of monster coming out. I asked him to give me a Mona Lisa smile, so he gave me a Mona Lisa smile, uh, just a mysterious smile, and I asked him to uh, give me um, a, the look of what is it? Sinai Jesus. Okay, the very first painting that exists in the world of Jesus Christ is a painting that was discovered in St. Catherine's Monastery in the Sinai. Okay, there's there's an old monastery in the Sinai, and in that portrait, Jesus is looking inside with one eye and looking at you with the other eye. And so you can see that in this portrait where with one of my eyes, I'm focused internally, and with one eye, I'm focusing externally, right? And if you don't know it, you might not see it. But there are lots of things. We went for about an hour and a half just picking up all kinds of things, like this ghost here in the background. There's a ghost there. There's a bunch of ghosts in the background. There's an angel here. I'm just seeing these for the first time myself, actually. Because when somebody was telling me about the ghost, I couldn't see it, but now I can see it. It's very clear right there. And that's where they said it was, but I wasn't seeing it at the time. And so it's just an interesting process. Um,
It's
so,
funny. My dad is convinced he has a ghost. I think I told you that before. He swears he has a ghost, and sometimes it plays tricks on him, and sometimes it gives
well, sure
him
he does.
gives him
Sure,
things.
sure he does. And uh, here's the third one that is coming is was last year's portrait. Um, and there it is. Skip as Jung, because this is a pose that there's a photograph of Jung in this pose, and Tim did this painting. Um,
There is a photograph of Young in like this, but he's from the other
yeah,
direction.
it is. That's
Yeah.
right. And so Tim used that photograph as a reference. I think he flipped it. Um, he probably used his Photoshop, and then he took my likeness and Jung's likeness and did a merge between the two likenesses. Have you ever done that? Where a picture will seem like it's one person, and then it
Yeah, they have that for like what's your kid gonna look like?
yeah. And so I think he used some some sort of program like that to get a reference thing. And I had a mustache at that time because I was playing Jung at our confluence in 2022 in our one act play entitled um, The Analyst and the Rabbi. And you can find this if you haven't seen it on this YouTube channel. Um,
Yeah, it really doesn't feel like that long ago.
yeah, I know. It's just time just whizzes by on me now. I mean, when you get up to my age, years go by like flashes, and you have to say, "Wow, 100 isn't that far off." And then yesterday there was a big article about how more and more people are living to be 100 and are living older. And
Well, and there's also like time is relative. Like
mhm.
before things used to take longer, like now we can experience more in less time. So that's
Oh yeah,
also sort of like living longer.
right, right, right. So anyway, those were uh so there's another thing which is let me see if I can pull it up. Uh I I have a student who Uh, I one of my colleagues took this picture of me talking to a student, and he comes to talk with me almost every day and work with me. And I just love this picture. And so I told Tim to try to do my portrait this year like this, or with this student, with the expression on his face and so on. And I like this photo very much. And so Tim didn't quite agree. There's a portrait that shows there's one of those photos that shows me in profile more. He wanted to have more of my likeness in it. And so I think he's going to do another merge with more of my likeness in it. But anyway, wow, there's lots of conversation going on the YouTube, so maybe we better look. Um, so Sharice had said good morning. Then she says, I was listening to Marie von France and Edinger several hours this last week. And then Richard says, the midlife, uh, there was a midlife crisis problem throughout history. I wonder, and it seems to be a man thing more so than women. I don't know, would you concur or
Um, no, I've definitely I thought in my mid 20s I had like a midlife crisis, but it wasn't a real midlife crisis.
you know,
Um,
I think
I just think
now
mine
they
hit.
call them panic attacks sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I went through a lot during COVID. A
I'm sure
lot.
a lot of
Yeah.
people did. Yeah.
And that was exactly like right when I hit midlife. So I'm just at the start of my midlife journey. It's exciting.
So so you're at the start of your midlife crisis?
Well, I'm at the I don't think I'm having a crisis, but I'm at the start of midlife. I'm 42. So
Hmm. Well, you
it's a
might have been through it. My sense is that you were already through it and you're working your way out. At least you know what you're doing to work your way out. I'm not sure we're ever done, honestly.
it never gets better.
Right.
No, it's definitely better.
When yeah, it's definitely better. And this is why I took up painting. I'm not painting for to sell them necessarily. I mean, think at some point somebody might want my paintings, but I also know that Van Gogh sold on only one painting in his lifetime, and he was trying to paint for sale, and he never sold a painting during his lifetime except for one, apparently. Um, but his the reason he became famous was that he did over 1,000 paintings, major paintings, and he was shipping them every third day to his brother, who was an art dealer or a museum official of some sort. And his brother was sending him more art supplies. So he was sending the paintings to his brother, and his brother was sending him art supplies. And this lasted for 10 years. And during this time, there are a huge number of letters. There's a very famous Penguin classic book called The Letters of Vincent van Gogh. And he wrote the letters. He uh, his brother kept his letters, but Van Gogh didn't keep his brother's letters. But the amazing thing, both Tim and I both have read that book, and after reading that book, I felt I knew him better than I knew my own brother. It was an amazing experience to read that book,
Oh, I will
and
definitely have to read it.
so
I'm a
yeah. So
big fan.
if you haven't seen it, it's called The Letters of Vincent van Gogh, and it's on Penguin. Um, and anyway, it's a tremendous book. And so he just was moved to paint. He was a painter, painter, painter. And now we can psychoanalyze him based on his paintings. Now, me, I'm just painting, not having an expectation that I can sell any of them, maybe at some point. I have sold some art in the past, but not necessarily this style of painting. Um, and actually, I sold a few portraits, but they were shadow portraits. Anyway, the what was I going to say? Um, so my purpose is only using it as a conduit of information with my unconscious. I every morning I get up and I paint for an hour or so before I go to school. I normally get up about 6 and paint until 7 or 7:30, sometimes even 8. And um, in that time, I'm paying close attention to what my unconscious is throwing up, asking me to think about this. And I find it very useful. It's sort of like the talking cure, only I'm talking with my unconscious through the painting. And it's very, very interesting what's happening.
Oh, that reminds me, I have a dream to analyze. It's from December 30th or 31st.
Okay.
And like I've thought about it and like um I've analyzed it myself and I come up to different conclusions, but I
Yeah.
was thinking I could tell it to you and to the group and just see what comes up.
Okay.
All
Let's
right,
do
so
it.
this was on the 30th or 31st of December. And like as I said before, most of my dreams are relatively the same. So when they are different, I I do notice. And I write my dreams down
Uh-huh.
usually every morning because
When I have a big
um
dream, I certainly do. Yeah. Go ahead.
well, I always want to know like what's like I'm doing a lot of stuff in my dreams. Um and I'm always up to something different and like I have a new mission, but
Mhm.
in this dream it was different. So the 30th and 31st was last Tuesday and Wednesday. Um I was just watching in this dream. I didn't have to do anything. I just got to watch, and that
Mhm.
is very rare in my dreams. Um,
You're usually in it.
yeah, I'm in it. I have to do stuff, and
Yeah.
it's never over for me.
Yeah.
I guess that's my persecution complex. It's never over. But I got to actually watch something, and I just watched, I saw a vast ocean. I didn't see any land. I don't know what I was standing on, but all I saw was the ocean and it wasn't raining yet. But there was definitely storm clouds and it was the daytime, but it was really dark because of all the clouds
Hmm.
and it was really windy. It hadn't started raining yet, but it looked like it could have rained like at any second. And it was
Hmm.
really, really windy. And the water was really choppy, like in those individual choppy waves.
Yeah.
Um, and it was just, you could feel the ocean just churning. Um, and in the water, I saw a whale and it was on its side. It wasn't like completely belly up yet,
Hmm.
but it wasn't really swimming. It was trying to swim, but it was in the currents and it was sort of like stuck, even though it was water, it was stuck. And I grasped that it was stuck and I was like, wow, what's gonna happen? And then behind that whale was a huge wave coming, and in the middle of that wave was an even bigger whale going through the same thing. Um, and then I woke up, but it
Hmm.
was really interesting.
And when did you have this dream?
The 31st, or the 30th of December.
Got it. So to me, it sounds like a prefiguration um, um, of this attack on Venezuela.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. But,
And, I mean,
we shall.
that's my impression of it. Um, and So, Kathy, I concur with your point that you made. However, in this case, I have the permission of the student who is of age to give his permission. So, um, but anyway, um, I have promised him a copy of the a Giclée print of the portrait that we do with him, and so anyway, uh, sure he says gangster governments. Yeah, I mean it's seeming a lot like uh, The Godfather these days. Um, anyway, okay, I better read a little bit more, make a little bit more progress in this reading. Okay, so we've talked about the experience of relatedness, and the next one is Introduction of the Opposites of the Psyche. In the course of Liber Primus, the soul presents herself as a child and maiden. After long reflections about the importance of dreams to acquire knowledge and wisdom of the heart, this process is seen as an initiation into good and evil. Should I also live evil? That's the quote. Thus, very early in the Red Book, the opposites are introduced as essential components of the psyche. There is even a multifaceted, terrible ambiguity which he has to accept. Coexistence, coexistent, hateful, beautiful, evil, good, sick, healthy, inhuman, human, ungodly, godly, cruelty, pain, torture, and death are influencing dynamics and the layers of the inner world, in the layers of the inner world. Jung realizes the prerequisite to respect and fear the spirit of the depths. And so that's a pretty important concept in Jungian psychology. And it's basically saying that, if you don't have a duality, nothing happens. Okay, there's no psychic energy that's generated. And so um so we need evil in order to have something happen in our psyche. And
Yeah, it is the answer to Job. It's really metaphysical,
right.
but I
Yeah.
could see how some people would get really upset and say Young is the devil and these are devilish thoughts and
Yeah.
they wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, but it's better if we understand that we have this evil within us.
It is true. Evil is real, and if we pretend it doesn't exist,
Yeah.
then
And if we pretend it isn't us, it's all the other people that are evil and not us. Okay. Well, I had a midshipman that we sponsored at one point called me yesterday when the news broke of this attack on Venezuela, and he was asking me about it. And I said, well, look, Venezuela nationalized all these oil companies' gear and took it, basically stole it 50 years ago. It was 50 years ago, believe it or not, that they nationalized the oil companies, and and apparently they've just driven the oil industry in Venezuela into the dirt. And and so, you know, our president makes this big announcement and basically commits the oil companies to invest a couple $1 billion in Venezuela. And Deb's telling me this morning in the newspaper, it says, we didn't agree to that. We never said any such thing.
Oh, really? Yeah, I just, like I try to keep up with the news and I want to know, but this whole thing is like I'm confused.
Yeah,
I'm confused with what's
I'm
really happening, and of course it touches on my own things, and I'm just like, I
right.
thought this was about drug addiction and that we were going to like do something about it.
Yeah, and Sheree says it's called super imperialism. Well, it's certainly that. It's certainly the American shadow, but at the same time, I have to I look at my own reaction to it. And of course, I've been around the Navy all my life and the Marine Corps, and it gets my blood running. And in Thucydides' book called the the Peloponnesian Wars. That's the first book. It was written about 1,000 years before Christ or something like that, a long while ago, but it still exists, and it goes into huge detail of the Peloponnesian Wars, which went on for 27 years. This was the war that between Greece and Turkey, basically, uh, which had
Yeah.
the Battle of the
Yeah.
300
They also had an ethnic cleansing just for,
right.
power and to show the other
But
kingdoms
yeah, the
what's
point
going on.
wanted to make was that in Thucydides, which was written 3,000 years ago, it said, if the civilians are getting porky and you're having problems politically, then get yourself in a war because then people will go along with you. Basically, that's what he said. And of course, everybody gets their juices running when you have a war coming up. And
That
we
is true. There's
that
a lot
probably
about war that is very intoxicating.
right. And I'm just reading James Hillman's book called A Terrible Love of War, which is saying that basically war is archetypal and we're not going to escape it. And of course, we have mini wars all the time. Everybody in America loves football because it's a mini war. Um, and
That's what I was thinking with the Venezuela thing. I was like, oh, we're going back to an old playbook.
right. But Thucydides' point was if you're having problems with your civil life and you're a politician, the thing to do is get your country into a war, and then everybody falls in line with you. And that's archetypal, and it's been well known all the way back to Thucydides. And he wrote a major volume about it. I mean, a huge volume. And so it's been well known in the human species for a long, long time. And of course, Jane Goodall found it in chimpanzees and the great apes, who are our ancestors, uh, that would war with one another. And so, it, when you told me your dream, I said, "Oh my God, it does sound like Jung having his pre-configured or his prefigurations of World War One. And, and here you're having it a couple of days before, and these guys down in Washington, and, obviously lots of people were gearing up for this attack that happened, what, on the second? It happened on the
Yeah.
second. So within 3 days, so they were all really into it, and it's tens of thousands of people were involved,
There were
and
a lot of people involved. There had
right,
to have been.
and who were keeping it secret. And I I would say, if I were young, I would say that you were cued in. You knew it was coming, because it's easy to say that the sick whale is Trump, symbolizes Trump, and the big storm, etc. So my gosh, uh, it's an easy prefiguration for
Yeah.
me. I don't know. Does it resonate with you
It
though?
does. It does. It does. But like these things are very layered. Like that's why I like to write down my dreams because I'll come up with a um answer and it's not like that answer was wrong, but it's
Mm.
there's more if I keep going
Well, you
with
may
it.
very well have more dreams and visions coming up. Excuse me. If you're that tuned in, you may very possibly have more dreams and visions coming up.
Neat. I made a new notebook for it.
You made a
For
what book?
a new notebook
Oh, okay.
for my dreams and visions.
Yeah, you should do. Especially this one because, Jung had 12 dreams and visions. I mean, big ones, big enough for him to note down and include in the Red Book. Or actually, I guess he didn't include them in the Red Books, but he referred to them, and it's well known what those dreams and visions were. Uh, Even though I don't, I mean, he discusses it in chapter one of the Red Book, and he discussed the fact that he was having these precognitions, and then he said on August 1st, 1914, he was the happiest man in the world, because the war had broken out and he realized he wasn't going crazy, that he realized he was
Yeah.
tuned in to all these people that were getting ready to make war. And
Yeah. It's not just him that's crazy. Everyone's crazy.
right. And Cherie, I agree with you. I don't watch football anymore, except I've sort of gotten sucked into watching Navy play again, and so I have watched most of the Navy season this year, including the Liberty Bowl the other day when they whumped Cincinnati in the Liberty Bowl. So that had to make it worth it for the football players who didn't get any Christmas holiday. I mean, the football players must have been practicing instead of uh, instead of going home for their Christmas holiday because they played this Liberty Bowl on the second. Um, yeah, Richard says football, it seems to always come down to the last 2 minutes of every game, the last few years. And I would say, yes, that's true. Certainly in professional football, where they're trying to make advertisers happy. Because, you can't just get the game over with in an hour. If you do that, then,
Yeah.
then you've lost all your money. So, all right. So we introduced the opposites in the psyche. And Michelle, I'll be very interested to know whether you have some more follow-on dreams, especially as you cogitate on this. Um, And let's see. So Sheree says, I went to Bogota, Colombia in 1978 with an immunity clearance and did not know what that meant. I don't know what it means either. Um, and so Happy New Year, Art. Let's see what else. So Sheree says, oh, how I wish that God would speak and disclose the secrets of wisdom, for the true wisdom has two sides. Verse 6. I don't know what verse 6 is referring to, Sheree. But yeah, it becomes about money and power. And, you know, Jung had this famous statement that, you know, the good side of God is grace and light, and the bad side is the terrible temptation of power. And, you know, we see our president wielding all the power of the United States right now in very grandiose ways because he's saying, you know, we're going to run Venezuela. Well, there are 30 million people or so that might have other ideas about that. And you're not going to run Venezuela by sitting offshore and threatening them, I don't think. Um,
Yeah, or coming in like a CEO and just firing everyone and thinking
right.
that's it.
Right, and he's simultaneously doing that to the Palestinians and to the Iranians, and God knows what he's doing with Putin and Zelensky in Ukraine. So, you know, okay, I've been around the military long enough, and it's not a secret that we developed our military to be prepared to fight two wars, one in Asia and one in Europe. But now he's basically cooking up four wars, so that's might be a little bit too much.
Yeah, and then there's this mysterious
Right,
inner homegrown enemy. It's like, what are you talking about?
right. Okay, so Michelle, don't know if you heard me at the beginning of this session, but I do have to leave by 11:15 because I have a colleague friend of mine who has come to town from India, and I have to go meet him at the train station at noon, which is our normal ending time. So I'm going to have to leave by 11:15.
And
Uh,
that's only in a couple minutes.
yeah, so I want to read one more section here. This essay has lots to go, and and there are a lot of little blivets of information. And so here's something for everybody to be thinking about for next year or next session, um, because it's the difference between psyche and soul, which is interesting if you're thinking about Jungian psychology. Okay, as the essential difference between psyche and soul. The theme of the opposites rises more distinctly after the maiden emerges from the psyche as soul, as if the level of consciousness widens and deepens through this distinction. Further, the realm of feeling intensifies after the figure soul appears. Soul is a universal concept found in religions and philosophies all over the world. Jung introduces the term in psychology. Even today, this is seen by many as controversial. As a psychiatrist and analytical psychologist, I experience the concept of soul in my work and life as therapeutically meaningful and pragmatically helpful. In Liber Primus, Jung has the revelation that the psyche can be seen as the totality of all psychological processes. The soul seems of a particular quality and vitality. She appears with numinous intensity and with regard to the ego as a function with greater capacity for connection and relationship. The soul arouses deep emotions and can evolve toward differentiated feeling and self-reflecting levels of consciousness, essential for healing processes because only thus is individuality able to rise. Jung realizes the incontestable truth that relating with and becoming a caring servant of the soul by supporting and translating expressions of suffering experienced by patients exponentially enhances the transforming and healing dynamics. The soul seems a dimension for relatedness and a phenomenon of animation unfolding in the dynamic of love as an essence within the psyche. This knowledge is significant and vital in therapeutic processes. Experience reveals that a regressive depressive phase prognostically ends when the soul emerges with a renewal of animated energy. Um, Difficult themes and negative contents can be confronted and transformed because new energy levels emerge out of the self and through caring therapeutic relationships, which open possibilities to evolve out of suffering. Strengthening, sorry, strengthening an individual through animation from within has an impact on dosages of medication, which can be applied with greater discrimination. Deeply wounded individuals may only be able to open to therapy as well as to their inner and outer life and others on both levels as well after gaining confidence and trust by encountering such figures of their own psyche. These examples provide ample evidence for the value of such encounters and processes therapeutically. Therefore, it is obvious that recognition of and engagement with dynamics of the soul should be initiated and honored in psychiatry. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, but I'll just comment on this a little bit. Um, I'm not a big fan of psychiatry per se because it wants to medicate the pain, and I think that most psychic pain can be alleviated by psychology, not psychiatry. Okay, psychiatry is for doctors, and it represents a disease or defect of the psyche. And I think most people, most of us, certainly if you're listening to this session, you're probably one of us. Most people have psychological problems from time to time, depression and that sort of thing. Um, but but those problems are often resolvable by just talking about it. And, one time I mentioned to John Beebe, who's a famous Jungian analyst, that I hadn't been able to find a psychologist that would work with me because, uh, the answer I get is I would be afraid of you, quote unquote. and and the point is that that I know too much, but I know too much because as John Beebe said to me, Carl Jung is your psychologist. And so even though I never had a counseling session with Jung, our lives intersected for 15 years. Um, I was 15 when he died. Um, I never met him physically, but of course I've read a lot of his books now, and and so I concur that there is something else besides what we would normally call psyche. I mean, I concur that there is a soul, and I think it is the unconscious, and I think of God as the collective unconscious, indeed, which is what Jung finally admitted in 1956 uh, when he wrote to David Cox. You can hear his letter on this YouTube channel. Jung's letter to David Cox, who was a pastor, and he admitted that his position is that God is the collective unconscious. And when I see examples, we've had a real example of that with Michelle this morning, where she's having a dream that's in great turmoil involving ships in the sea and so on. And I know um, that that's probably the collective unconscious at work and what we're talking
Sure.
about. Huh?
And that reminds me, psychology is super important because I remember when I first got out of the military,
Hmm.
um, and I started going to the VA, I started getting into arguments with people in the parking lots with other veterans, and you couldn't tell me that I wasn't like the best soldier in the world, that like I didn't know everything, and
Hmm.
like, don't you know who I am? And I was like, this is my parking spot. And I eventually got to the point where I got sent to anger management. Um, and it was weeks, and I was like, where is the point of what exactly are we doing besides talking? And then the
Yeah.
very last session, it was our graduation session. The point is, like, if you can't talk about it, that means that like you have so much shame you can't address it, and that you have to talk about things. And I'm like, you could have told us that from the start.
Mhm. But that's how they make money, right? I
I
mean,
guess,
I mean,
yeah.
at the VA, maybe you didn't have to pay, but
No,
uh,
they did. We're like, okay, you're gonna do 15 weeks of this, and then you're gonna see this doctor. Like,
mhm,
yeah, they had a
yeah,
plan for me.
right. But the ones that charge by the hour also have a similar plan, right? Um,
But you definitely have to be able to talk about something.
yeah,
Like even in recovery, just one other person. It doesn't have to be um it does something psychologically to you to
yeah,
talk about something.
right. So I regret that I have to stop, folks. I just had on my iWatch. I love my iWatch. My wife just called me, and she's obviously calling me because I haven't left for, for the train station yet. So I will say goodbye and see you next week.
All
Something to think
right.
about. Think
All
about
right.
the difference between your psyche and your soul. That's a good thing to think about. And anyway, thanks very much for being
All right.
here today. Michelle
Bye
was very
everyone.
helpful. And thanks everybody for being here. and for checking on me, Kathy. Thanks very much for that. So